Recently, I spoke with Ontario MPP from Nepean Carleton, Lisa MacLeod, about Ontario's green energy experiments. Lisa, I think that the Liberal government tried to use Ontario as some sort of laboratory experiment through their Green Energy Act. How's the experiment worked?
Well, listen, I think that is the perfect way to describe the Green Energy Act here in Ontario, a laboratory. And we know it has been, particularly in rural communities across Ontario. They've been assaulted by these wind turbine developments and solar developments, and it has cost the taxpayers in this province and ratepayers astronomical amounts. We're seeing a rate increase. We did in November 1st. We'll see another one, I'm sure, because the OPG wants it. But at the end of the day, it has really defined postal code politics here in Ontario, because not only are rural communities opposed to these wind turbine developments, but those in the GTA and areas where the Liberals hold seats, they're happy to listen to the concerns of the public and rip out power plants that cost billions of dollars to the ratepayer and the taxpayer.
Well, now you're talking about local consent. I mean, development, planning, what goes where, zoning issues, a democratic issue. But there's also the economic cost, and that's part of the experiment too. I mean, they centralized the decision making for these skyscraper high wind turbines, but they've actually, I mean, although that's being foisted on the rural parts, everyone in this province is paying higher electricity fees because of it.
Well, that's important to know. A lot of people think, okay, well, these are nice things that can go off in rural Ontario and we're not really affected by it, but they are. People in Toronto, in Ottawa proper, and in big cities right across the province are actually paying for these wind turbine developments. They saw it on November 1st that there was a rate increase, and that's going to continue to happen. So people everywhere are paying for this, and it has been at the backdrop of stealing locally based decision making away from communities who don't want them.
Well, I mean, the province now has so much debt. I mean, it boggles my mind that Ontario's debt is larger than California's. Like, I can't even compute that because they're, 2-3 times the size, and they're regarded as a basket case. And yet, the costs add up. I mean, I see now a lawsuit by one offshore wind turbine company for $2 billion for Wolf Island. Do you know anything about that multi-billion-dollar price tag?
Sure, that's going to happen. It looks like they're going to take the province to court, and we're going to be dishing out even more money because Mr. McGuinty, now Ms. Wynne, and previous energy ministers like Chris Bentley, Brad Dogood, and of course, who could forget George Smitherman, decided to ramrod this through the Ontario public. We are going to be stuck with the bill. And again, when you look at what they've done in wind energy and what they've done with these gas plant scenarios, they are effectively spending billions upon billions upon billions of dollars, I'm not making this up, in order to create a false economy in many senses, and they're doing it with the government credit card. It's all deficit financing, and it is hurting our economy, it is hurting the taxpayer and the ratepayer, and in the end of the day, it's just going to simply hurt Ontario.
Well, and that's the thing is, I mean, obviously all these billions of dollars are going somewhere, and they're often going to wind companies, including foreign wind companies. I think it's a shocking political misjudgment that the president of the Ontario Liberal Party and now the president of the federal Liberal Party is a major wind turbine, capitalist himself. It just looks so cozy and insidery. But it's not just that. It's the fact that now energy is almost like a luxury good, and it's getting to almost like a UK level where you have energy poverty. Here's my theory. What do you think of this? I mean, if I look back to Stéphane Dion in 2008, he said, I want to have a green shift. I want to make using energy through fossil fuels so expensive that people change their habits. So what you and I are saying is a bad side effect, all this expensive power. Is it possible that that's not a side effect, but the whole plan to get Ontarians to use less energy because it's so bloody expensive? Well,
there's no question that one of the things that the Liberal Party, provincially and federally, have always advocated is for more conservation, but simply put, we're in a northern climate. We do need our heat and our hydro in the winter months, and we do have extraordinarily warm summers, meaning we need our air conditioning, particularly for our seniors. So I think it's really not to the best planning process for them. I think it's clear in Ontario we need to invest in nuclear energy, we need to invest in natural gas energy, and we need to invest in our hydroelectric, which, by the way, made Ontario an economic powerhouse in the world because we had cheap and affordable electricity. It spurred our economy right up until the last decade this government's been in office. And you're right, one of the key beneficiaries of this wind energy project is a guy named Mike Crowley, Justin Trudeau's Liberal Party of Canada president. That just goes to show you that there is this cozy relationship, not to mention even that that Samsung deal that was signed worth over $7 billion. And who do you think's paying for this, Ezra? It is the ratepayer, the people who turn on their thermostat in the morning or their air conditioner in the summer. Those are the people paying the bill, and I just don't think that's right.
Now, I know what they were probably thinking, or at least what they said they were thinking years ago. They thought, well, let's just get ahead of the curve, let's invest in this. Soon the price of wind and solar will be so low, we'll just be ahead of the game, and power's expensive, natural gas is so expensive. So they were thinking, well, maybe they're just getting in early, like an early adopter of a new technology. But here we are. Natural gas prices have plummeted because of fracking. I mean, it's extremely cheap. Now the U.S. is looking to be a net exporter. And the wind and the solar is extremely expensive. They're not working. Like, they're working part of the time, so they have to build these backup power plants with natural gas. I got a question for you, honestly. If the Liberals could turn back the hands of time, do you think that, knowing now, if they knew then what they knew now, do you think they would still do it? Or do you think, I mean, like, do you think that they're so distressed by how things are working, or do you think that they would do it again? What do you think?
I think that they're ideological, and they have chosen this path, and they're going to continue to dig in their heels, regardless of whether or not it hurts small businesses, whether it hurts young families.
But do they acknowledge that things have failed, or do they think it's going well?
They don't. Let's just put this into perspective. If you were to look at the government website, the IESO, who looks at the independent electricity system and tells you where our mix is, they're going to tell you that the top three generators of electricity in Ontario will be nuclear, would be gas, and would be hydroelectric. Never in a million years will we ever see wind or solar panel eclipse that. Never will they be the top three that we rely upon, though this government will tell you. And I think it's one that we continue to explore. A couple of weeks ago, we tried to get the Auditor General in to review the Green Energy Act once again and its impact on ratepayers. But of course, who do you think decided to team up and defeat that? Of course, it was the Liberals, with their sidekicks, the NDP.
Yeah, it's a terrible experiment. Thanks for your time today.